So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the symbolism of the skull and bones. The skull and bones is found in the Masonic tradition. It's also found in a satanic secret society, such as the Skull and Bones Secret Society at the University of Yale, filled with secrecy there. Anyways, to dive deep into the symbolism, we have to think between the lines and read between the lines of what this symbol means. So this symbol is obviously a symbol that represents something in yourself. It is a way of living. It is a way of think, feeling, and acting. It is a state of consciousness. Each symbol represents a state of consciousness. Each symbol reveals something about yourself, the way you process things, the way your consciousness functions. This is what symbolism is for. It is visual representations of modalities of consciousness. So the skull and bones, if we instantly look at this symbol, we typically think of death, because a skull and bones, they are the last things to rot when the body dies. You see this symbol associated with death all the time. If you look on the back of of a product such as cigarettes or what else, vapes or vape liquid, you will see this symbol. Why? Because it represents poison or something that can kill you, or death, something that is toxic. So you always see this symbol on products that are toxic, things that can cause harm or internal damage to the physiology of the body. So that's a very basic exoteric term, which is external. It's a very external teaching. But inside the occult and esoteric traditions and occult schools of thought, this symbol represents the death of someone's consciousness or spirit. It is the death of their soul. Now, what do I mean, the death of their soul? This is used in satanic societies, or it's used in Masonic traditions. Two different meanings, okay? So inside the Masonic tradition, this symbol of the skull and bones is always found on a coffin, on a Masonic coffin. The coffin will have a symbol of the skull and bones. And if we observe the symbol, we have two interesting sections. We have a skull and we have bone, okay? These are two symbolic aspects of consciousness and forces of consciousness. The skull encloses the brain, and the brain is all to do with intellect and thinking, intelligence. However, these bones are for the limbs, such as arms and legs, and the arms and legs are specifically for action. The body uses these bones for taking action in the external material world, in the manifested world. So it's a symbol of thought and action, intelligence and action. But what is that the death of? If this symbol represents death, it is a symbol of the death of something, which is the soul. Okay, you can have very high intelligence and you can also act upon that intelligence. However, you could also have no connection with your divine nature. So the thought and the skull and bones is a state of consciousness representing someone who is in the coffin. The Masons use this on a coffin. It is a symbol of thought and action. Mainly, it represents base consciousness. In the Masonic tradition, it represents base consciousness. I'm going to explain the satanic tradition of the symbol after. But in the Masonic tradition, they use this symbol to represent someone who's on base consciousness, which means they only think and act. They have no connection with the divine self, no connection with their higher self or the spirit or the divine nature of themselves. They only use their intelligence and they only use their body. They have no connection with emotion. There is no emotional symbolism in this image here. Hence why the image is either gray or black. It's normally gray because gray symbolizes dullness. Each color is symbolic of emotion, and looking at colors invokes emotion. However, gray has no emotional tone. It's dull, it's dead. So it represents disconnection from the emotional body of consciousness, but it represents thinking and acting without the emotions. Why is that significant? It represents the death of emotion. someone who is in an unconscious state of living. Why is emotion important? Because emotion is basically the connection to law, moral law, natural law. When we're given birth into this world, we have a natural state of consciousness of innocence and love. As a child is not born racist, a child is not born a killer, a child is not born chopping people's heads off. A child is born with love and living in peace in a natural condition of consciousness. Therefore, the skull and bones is the inversion of this. It represents someone who either has high intelligence and they take action, or it just simply represents someone who is unconscious and they only think and act. They have no connection to their heart energy, emotional energy. This is very important, okay? They have no connection with their heart energy. And the heart energy is what allows you to take action on things that are good. For example, if you think of stealing an old lady's purse, the feeling will tell you it's wrong. But if you take an action anyway, that is now going against the heart, which is the feminine, the guidance system, the heart of goodness and righteousness and love and care. So in the unconscious state, in base consciousness, symbolizing the first degree of masonry, base consciousness, the checkerboard floor, you'll see a coffin with a skull and bones on, symbolizing an unconscious way of thinking and acting. They have no connection with their feminine qualities of consciousness, which is the heart energy. Look around in the world today, you will see this everywhere. People only think and act. They have no connection with their intuition, their feminine side. And the feminine side is what guides your soul through this life. So in the Masonic tradition, this is a symbol of someone who only thinks and acts, and they may even think and act unconsciously, because it's a symbol of death, which means the death of consciousness. They are unconscious. They don't even know they exist. They don't question life. They don't question what is this world. They don't question, they think manifestation is just a fairy tale. They unconsciously think and act and create their reality. They wonder why there's so much negative in their reality because they are unconscious. So this is a symbol of the death of consciousness. They have no connection to their internal self, the qualities of the heart, and they only think and act, an unconscious state of living. Now, to go into the satanic side of this, the Skull and Bones tradition, the Skull and Bones is a satanic society. Allegedly. We don't actually know what goes on in there, but it's allegedly a satanic society. This symbol has a complete different meaning. Well, it's the same meaning, but it represents high intelligence, someone who is very, very, very intelligent in the mind, intellectually, and they take action. Because Satanism is not worshipping Satan. A lot of people won't understand this, but Satanism is not about worshipping Satan. Satan, therefore, is an allegory, a metaphor, or a symbol that represents the egoic force of an individual's mind or consciousness. Satan is a symbol representing the ego of man, of an individual. And like I broke down earlier, when we think about stealing an old lady's purse or punching someone in the face, the heart tells you that's wrong, but the body takes an action anyway. That little voice inside your mind that says, do it anyway, even though you know it's wrong internally, that little voice that says, do it anyway, that is what the ancients or esoteric societies call Satan. It's not a deity, but it's an aspect of our own mind, an unchecked aspect of ourself that is always trying to rule and gain, is trying to conquer you. This ego tries to conquer and take full control of you. And that's what we see in today's world. So therefore, in the satanic society, this is a symbol of head consciousness, no heart consciousness, because satanic societies do not want to connect with their heart. They prefer to live in their personal consciousness. What do I mean? The universe is one consciousness, one giant being expressed in individual forms. And that universal essence beyond your ego, beyond that universal consciousness, is the heart. But the head is the personal consciousness. The head is where your perception of yourself is. That false character of who you think you are, your beliefs, your name, your job, your status, your reputation. That is all head ego consciousness. It's not necessarily evil. However, in satanic societies, they do not connect with the divine. They would rather live in their personal consciousness and become their own God instead of connecting to the God of the heart, which is the God of the universe. They prefer to become like a material God. They want head consciousness, and they think and act without heart. They will think, they'll have high intelligence, they'll develop their mind, they'll develop the power of their mind, but they'll never develop with their heart. They'll never connect with their heart. So this is what this symbol is representing in satanic societies. They live in satanic consciousness, which is simply head consciousness, thinking, acting, high intelligence, high IQ, no connection with the divine. Okay? And today, this is what this, the world is being pushed upon. This is, the world is 80% Satanist, and people are walking around they're Satanists and they don't even know. This is how the dark occult has influenced the world to become so vain, lost in vanity, ego, lust, materialism, status, money. They've made the world unknowingly become satanic. Most of the people in the world are walking around Satanism. They're satanic. And what they've done is purposely tricked people to believe that Satanism is about worshipping Satan, when actually it's a state of consciousness. They think Satan is a deity. Yeah, very well said, esoteric. Yeah, they think Satanism is about worshipping this man in the sky or this negative force. But it's a state of being, because we are all God. We're all co-creators of God. We're not the God, but we are expressions or emanations of God. And our soul is the thought force of God. Just like when you think about a certain thought and you dwell upon it for a while, that thought becomes literally an entity or an energy form within the astral plane, and the soul of that elemental being or a thought force is your thought force. That's the soul of that being. Your soul is the thought force of God. You were thought into existence by the mind of God. I hope you gain an understanding of what this means in the two different ways, the Masonic tradition and the Satanic tradition. The Masonic tradition is a symbol of base consciousness, someone who only thinks and acts. They may have high intelligence, they may not. They're living in the death of their feminine side of consciousness. They're emotionless, have no connection with their moral compass of the heart. They have no intuition. They only think and act. They go against their heart. They take actions against their guidance. Someone who lives unconsciously, creates their reality unconsciously, thinks, feels, and acts unconsciously. And then in the Satanic tradition, well, going back to the Masonic tradition, that base consciousness that I've just explained is the state that we must arise from, because that is the coffin. You'll see this symbol on a coffin, because the coffin represents the death of the spirit, the death of the feminine side of consciousness, and the death of conscious, being actually aware. And that's the state we must rise from, out of the coffin into higher consciousness. And that's why Masons, not just Masonry, you have this whole story of death and resurrection is in everything. It's in the Bible. Jesus dies and he is resurrected. In Masonry, when you're initiated, they symbolically kill you and then you are resurrected. Every secret society symbolically kills you and then resurrects you. Why? Because in order to awaken to what you truly are, you have to kill who you thought you were in your mind. In order to awaken to what you are, you have to kill what you thought you were. So it's a death and resurrection, okay? Okay, so this is the state we arise from, but in the Satanic tradition, this is glorified, this state of consciousness. They are conscious, they have high consciousness, but they only have intelligence and action. Their intelligence and action are one, they think and act instantly. But they think and act at the expense of others because they have no connection with their heart. There's no heart symbolism here. It's a symbol of intelligence and action, the mind and the body. So the Satanic tradition, they think and act at the expense of others. They seek to control other people because they have no connection with their heart. They have no connection with empathy, love, or care. They only care about themselves. and the brotherhood of the secret society. This is what true Satanism is. It's not about worshipping Satan. It's about serving Satan, which is your ego, the egoic force that tells you not to go with your heart. So yeah, I hope that clears some things up about this symbol.
Damn, lay the casket.